Hello, this is Lance from Multifandom Frenzy, and, well, welcome to my first anime review. Sorry about the lack of videos. Not really, because Upa's been uploading some, but sorry for the lack of other people on Multifandom Frenzy. Well, school started, so we're trying to do our best with our schedules. Okay, so let's get started. My review today is going to be on Puella Magi Madoka Magica, otherwise known as Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica. An anime that aired in 2011, it really shocked a lot of people. Also, warning, on this video and review, this will mostly contain spoilers, and I can spoil it because it's been 3 years, people. Come on, you should watch it by now. Anyway, so this anime. Madoka Magica was created by Gen Urobuchi, now very well known thanks to Puella Magi Madoka Magica. The anime, it took a lot of different things from Mahou Shoujo anime and basically put them in the real world. So most Mahou Shoujo anime relies on love, hope, and a lot of other positive emotions that make it a Mahou Shoujo anime. But in Madoka Magica, it basically just breaks down those emotions and turns the anime from the typical Mahou Shoujo anime to a whole dark twist into what it is. So, in Madoka Magica, there are 5 central magical girls, including Mami, Sayaka, Madoka, Homura, and Kyoko. All 5 of them had become magical girls at a point in the series, so yeah. Okay. Also, who's this? The person who gave them their abilities to contract were Kyubey. Okay, let's get to the plot. Madoka Magica is an anime about where there are witches that exist. And since I can spoil things, the witches basically come from magical girls when they lose despair and their soul gems, which is where they get their magical powers from, turn completely dark and they create a grief seed, which is basically the egg which comes from. So then, you're maybe wondering why would Cupid do this? It's really harmful for the world. Well, apparently, in this universe of anime, the universe is heading towards entropy, like universe's end or something like that. And throughout the anime, it is explored that maybe it isn't such a good thing that you contracted with this alien white cat demon thing. So, alright. Let's get down to the central characters. Okay, let's start with the veteran. Mami Tomoe, a magical girl whose soul gem is colored yellow and has the ability to wield multiple ribbons and muskets. By the start of the series, Mami is already lonely because of most of her witch fights, basically. Since she became a Mahou Shoujo, she lacks friends and is isolated mostly from most people. So, you don't know how Mami worded her wish in the series, because prior to the series, she had already become a magical girl. But since later in the series, you get a glimpse of that a wish sometimes will affect a Madoka Magica's magical girl's powers. So it's assumed that her ability to wield ribbons basically came from her wish. Which there are a lot of normal theories about this, like for example, some people have said her wish would be, I don't want to die alone. But we know, according to that wording, It's just obvious you're gonna die. But then, also, it is revealed in the anime on other mediums that it could be simply help me, tasukete, which gives an unclear image about how it affected her powers, but okay. So she also gets the ability to wield muskets thanks to her studying how the muskets are formed thanks to her ribbons. She makes her muskets out of ribbons, and as a result, she gets to wield multiples of them. In this anime, she's shown to be incredibly powerful, especially during her fight against the Rose Garden Witch, Gertrude, as she manages to easily defeat her despite being trapped at one point in the fight. So after that, the episode, as you go on for the series, in the early episodes, by episode 3, you get to see her fight against Charlotte, a candy witch. The basic story goes is that Sayaka and Madoka have been following her around in her witch hunts, thanks to her saving them in her earlier episode. And now they're fighting against a witch. So there was a grief seed planted in the wall against a hospital. No one knows how it got there. It was just there. So then Madoka left to find Mami. So as soon as they arrived at the scene and entered the barrier, Sayako separated from them, but thankfully it was okay. And Homura tried to intervene, but that didn't sit too well with Mami, so she just tied her up. Yeah. So Mami entered the barrier by herself, with no help from Sayaka and Madoka because they didn't have their powers. And so during the climax of the episode, she faces Charlotte and is defeated, and for lack of better words, she got the chomp. She's dead. Yeah. But another thing to note here is that the anime made Mami's death less graphic than the manga did. Much less graphic. So, honestly, and this is where you got to see the dark turn of the anime. Alright, then let's move on. Let's go on to Sayaka. Sayaka Miki, the best friend of Madoka since her youth. Sayaka always wanted to be a hero of justice. And after seeing Mami in action, she saw how wonderful it was to save people from it. Now, honestly, she becomes quite enthralled by this. And also, since Kyubey grants a wish, she decided to be selfless and use it for the guy, Kamijo Kyosuke, who apparently she loves. He could play the violin, but his arm broke in an accident. So Sayaka decided to use this wish to protect her, to heal her. Let's heal Kamijo's hand, in hopes, I guess, that he would feel immediate gratitude towards her. But in the earlier episode, Mami warned her against doing this because, according to her, most selfless wishes will always have a selfish intent behind them. This proved true with Sayaka's wish. So later in the story, it is eventually revealed that the soul gems are basically their whole essence, their whole being, their whole life. So if they're destroyed, the magic girl dies. So the soul gem, basically, the whole soul gem thing basically made Sayaka, she just lost it. Really lost it. She because of this, she thought she was a zombie and she was undeserving of Kyosuke's beliefs. And then as a result, Kamijo also had gained the interest of Hitomi, who was, of course, Sayaka's best friend. Can't go cliche more than that. Anyway, so Hitomi had confronted Sayaka before her confession, and say that she would give her a day because she knew Sayaka liked him. But obviously, this didn't sit too well because Sayaka was afraid of confessing. A whole mess of things would happen, and Sayaka ended up watching behind a tree trunk. Hitomi confessed to Kinosuke. Of course, this drove her to tragedy and basic insanity, and of course. Also revealed during this time, during the later episodes, when Sayaka turns into a witch. This because, as said earlier, when filled with despair, obviously Sayaka was full of despair, a magical girl will turn into a witch eventually. So she gave birth to a grave seed while being comforted by Kyoko in a train station. So she turned into a witch, she was named Octavia von Seckendorf, which sparked a lot of theory based on what her attacks were based on and a lot of other stuff. But she is notably one of the first witches of any of the magical girls to be shown. So the witches, of the 5 main magical girls. Okay. Next up, this leads us into Kyoko Sakura. Kyoko, her wish, like Mommy, was made early in the series. Kyoko, she wished for her father to get more listeners, since she was a preacher. This also resulted in eventually Kyoko's father finding out about this, and he thought she was a witch because of this, and she just bewitched everyone into believing his beliefs. So as a result, you do the rational thing and murder your entire family and hang yourself. Great moves, Mr. Sakura. Anyway, Kyoko, after that, managed to escape and decides to never use her powers for anyone else. Unlike Sayaka, who lived a life of selflessness, but ultimately got bit in the back for that. Anyways, Kyoko, she turns selfish and is initially introduced as more a selfish, rude, and brash girl. Rather uncouth, as you would say, she, upon her first meeting with Sayaka, tried to kill her. The two fought because Sayaka's wish was used for someone else, and Kyoko was angered by that, and they fought, and during this fight it is revealed about Sayaka's healing abilities. They come from her wish, and as a result of that. So after a whole mess of things that happen, Homura manages to intervene with the entire thing. And seemingly at this point, you don't know what her power is yet, so you don't know how she intervened. Pushes Sayaka out of the way, and Kyoko's attack misses. Final attack misses. She's about to kill her. So, okay. Then, whole mess of things would happen, and then, as I mentioned earlier, Sayaka would turn into a witch. Madoka would be confronted by Kyoko and ask if she wants to find a way to return Sayaka to normal. And obviously this stuck with her for a little bit, and eventually, after the whole church thing, which I'm not going to talk about because it would take too long, so Kyoko would go to Sayaka's witch barrier, and would be confronted by Octavia von Seckendorf. She hid Madoka behind a red barrier that she created with her magic, and manages to try to fend off Octavia's attacks for a while, but is eventually slammed several times against her own barrier, and she takes a lot of damage, and Madoka tries to tries to protect her from the witch, and she gets caught. And then Kyoko slams her spear into the hand, and her hand's cut off. As a result, the shock of that would make the ground fall off, and Kyoko and Madoka, who is unconscious by the way, Madoka, Kyoko, and the witch themselves would all fall down into a bottom room where you could see a shade of Kyosuke Kamijo, which you can assume is him, playing with a violin in his hands and the bow as well. So obviously, Kyoko was surprised by it. So obviously, Kyoko at this point knew there was no way to beat her without sacrificing herself. So Homer intervened and managed to save Madoka. Well, of course, very heroically, she decided to do something for her, someone else for once. I keep thinking she's so selfish. She managed to do something for someone else for once and changed for the better and decided to sacrifice her soul gem. She threw it in the air, summoned a giant scorpion spear, climbed on it, summoned a separate spear, stabbed her own soul gem, causing a giant explosion enveloping both Kyoko and Octavio on Second Earth, which as a result killed Sayaka and Kyoko. It was obvious. So then let's move on to Homer. Homura is a magical girl who initially, well, you could call her Momura for us Western fans, because in episode 10, I feel like you get a glimpse at, I think I haven't watched it in such a long time, in like a month, but you see that Homura was initially shy, she was nervous, she was bumbling, she was the total opposite of the person who she is now. In the first, it is known that after that, Homura is known to have time-stopping abilities. This is shown when she saves Kyoko from Octavia on Second Earth. In the first attempt. The second attempt was the one where she died. Anyway, so Homura, she's basically a girl from another time. She became a magical girl because she wanted to protect Madoka from her ultimate fate of dying at the hands of Walpurgis Nachtho. I can't pronounce that right. Sorry if I botched it, but I can't pronounce it right. Anyway, so as a result, Madoka in the first timeline that Homura is shown living through, Homura is at the Battle of Walpurgis Night with Mami and Madoka. Madoka eventually manages to defeat Walpurgis Nachtho, and but Mami dies in the process, and then she manages to kill the whole biggest witch thing, and in this timeline it's shown that it's probably the best possible ending from what we see. So Madoka dies, but she doesn't turn into a witch. Very good ending. However, Homura could not accept this and decided to wish. She worded her wish in a way that made it obvious that she was going to go back in time. She said, I think this is what she said, hold on. I wish to redo my meeting with Madoka, but not as someone who would be protected by her, but as someone who will protect her. So she went back in time thanks to her newly acquired magical girl powers. And yeah, she arrived in her second timeline. Obviously that didn't work out. She went to timeline 3, and of course that ended up working bad. However, in this timeline, I believe this is the timeline where this happens. Madoka and Homura defeat the witch, the Walpurgis Nachtho or whatever it is, and this is where you see another dark part of the anime. You see, Madoka's about to become a witch because she used all her magic power. And Homura decides that Madoka says she does not want to become a witch and asks Homura to mercy kill her, which is really dark. So Homura is shrieking and crying at this point and points the gun at her, and the seed pans out, and you hear no scream, you hear nothing, you just hear a bang. Obviously, after this, Homura traveled back and everything, and decided, no more Momura. It's time I become tough, I become better at doing what I do. So she changed her appearance to really cool and a silent beauty and everything. She took the pigtails out of her hair, made it all long and voluminous and everything. And then she also used her soul gem to correct her vision, which that was a when she shouldn't do that in the beginning. Anyway, Homura, obviously, this didn't end so well. And, yeah. Okay. But then eventually at the end, in the anime timeline, you see that Homura is still too big to be a Morpho's knight. And she ended up being saved by Madoka once again, though with a different outcome. Now let's move on to Madoka Kaname, the main protagonist of the entire series. Madoka is in the first timeline was shown as brave, tough, willing to have a purpose because she became a magical girl. But in this timeline, there's a role switch really, so Madoka became shy, meek, and everything that Homura originally was. So after she became, it is shown that Homura tries to kill Kyubey, the alien who tries to have magic girl. Make a contract with me, and she just blasts holes in him sometimes, and sometimes she just chews him away and everything else, or intervenes, and then Homura fails eventually because Madoka eventually becomes a magical girl, but she wishes that there's no more witches at all, that I can change the fate of all magical girls, and by eliminating all witches in the past, present, and future by her own power, which she does, and because all the timelines were linked to Madoka, her power was really high. If she became a magical girl, potential and stuff. So then Madoka became Madokami, or Ultimate Madoka. So Madoka manages to take all the curses of the world on the magical girls and take them into her own suffering, and she take all curses of the world that magical girls have happened, and manages to grant them a peaceful respite. They all die, but they are granted into the law of cycles now, instead of turning into a witch. Madoka, well, in this, after that, you see that even though this happened, Madoka didn't really do well. She did do well, but they still have to fight anyway. But it's important in a new world that Madoka creates. Sayaka is still dead. In order for a respectful way, out of respect for her friend, Sayaka is still dead because she just wanted to hear Kyosuke's violin one more time. And Mami and Kyoko are revived as a result, and so is, of course, Homura. But no one else remembers her except for Homura. So. And I'll probably talk about Kyubey more in the Rebellion movie review I might do. So expect more Kyubey lore later. Or whatever. Okay, so my review of this anime. 5 out of 5, just because it was amazing. It took your magical girl tropes and put them in the real world. Also, Madoka Magica, just an awesome anime overall. The action sequences are amazing. The art is awesome, and it's just a very good anime that I recommend you should watch. As a replay value, it's, well, if you know what happens, it takes away the surprise, takes away from the plot value of it a little bit. But it's only 12 episodes besides the movies, which I say, yeah, it's easy to watch now. And yeah, it's a very good anime, and yeah, so very, very good. So if you want to see more videos from Multifandom Frenzy or more anime reviews, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Also, comment down below what anime you want me to see, and I'll see if I can review it. But I'm sorry, no Attack on Titan, because I'm not allowed to watch it. I'm sorry, I just can't. But if it's anime I watched already, I will review it very soon, but We'll see you later. Okay, bye. I guess.